Away we go. Not so good evening for us that sat through and watched the Sixers get absolutely lumped at home by the Detroit Pistons. Was it a surprise to Sean Bernard? Wasn't so much a surprise to me with the fact that Joel Embiid did not play today. No excuses. He's got to find a way to win a game, but we'll be breaking this one down a number of ways. 116-93 belts to ass is all I could come up with at this point in time. Sean Bernard, how we doing?
Yeah, obviously not exactly the game that we're thrilled to hop up here and break down. Last night was an awesome matchup where I thought they looked great. A terrific win against the Timberwolves, which is a good team right here. It's tough. The Pistons are pretty much like last on the list of teams you want to face on the second night of a back-to-back without Joel Embiid right there. They attack the glass hard. They scrap for every single loose ball, and they punished the Sixers tonight. That I thought they played really impressive defense. I know it's obviously goes both ways, but this to me felt like a Pistons win more than a Sixers loss, so I can be a little bit okay with it.
What happened to no Cade Cunningham? The Sixers should beat him with no Cade Cunningham.
I mean, they're now 8-2 without Cade since he's gone down. They really haven't missed a beat, which is surprising. It obviously changes their playoff outlook. Like, I don't think this is a team that can make, deep playoff noise if Cade's not back on the floor, but they're just a tough matchup every single game, and their strengths match up with the Sixers' weaknesses, the way they do attack the glass. I was kind of surprised. I was diving into the numbers today. They haven't crushed the Sixers on the glass the way that I've expected, but at the same time, they beat them in all four matchups this year. So you would like a better effort. The bottom line is this was going to be a tough one to win, and if there are any games that I think are, I don't want to say acceptable, but understandable down this home stretch, I think this was that one.
Yeah, look, last night was a great game, one that you tuned into, and it made you believe a little bit, right? You saw why everybody's starting to build or to bang the drum about this Sixers team because of what they showed you last night. And you didn't even get the greatest performance by JoJo, but it was a true team effort, again, over the Minnesota Timberwolves, but tough spot back-to-back. No Joel Embiid. Let's just start there. What, an hour before game time that he was ruled out?
It was this morning.
Was it?
Yeah, there was the early injury report. I want to say around noonish that I saw that.
Well, the same. It doesn't matter if it was early or later. It was the same reason why he was being ruled out, and it's load management. It's the day after he played a game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. As I said, not his best game, but 34 minutes played, and here you have an opportunity to give him a little rest on the back-to-backs. But every game matters. Where do you stand on that conversation?
I thought it was very interesting, the comments from Joel Embiid after last night's game. And that was probably the most publicly, I don't know how you want to phrase that, critical. You can certainly critique the way that he went about this, talk about like how he wasn't allowed to play basketball Wednesday, that he planned on playing on that game. And it's interesting. I'm very curious what the conversations were behind the scenes today. From what I heard, he was at shoot-around, that he was the normal Joel Embiid. I will say in last night's game, he was grabbing at the oblique a little bit, especially in the second quarters when I noticed that he was it was a play where I forget who even was, kind of hit him with an elbow right in that area. I do think there's a chance that it flared up a little bit, which is a concern. So I'm not going to be super judgmental to him not playing today. And I do think this is an example of something, the way they're going about it doesn't make it feel clean, but you do have to protect Joel Embiid from himself a little bit down this stretch. The last thing they need is for him to pick up a notable injury. So I didn't have an issue with him not playing in tonight's game, even though I understand that you do.
Yes, absolutely do. I get it, Sean.
What did you think of the comments? What did you think of him saying that last night?
I just thought exactly like, okay, this was an issue that something took place again, the miscommunication.
Yeah.
It's just, it's nonsense at this point in time, but here we are. And, it all makes sense from what Joel Embiid was saying as far as he was dealing with a sickness. The word was that he missed a shoot around and missed some sort of video, if I'm not mistaken. So therefore the Sixers said, you know what, we're going to rule you out in a game against the Washington Wizards that I never really thought he should be playing. When we went over the schedule, I said he wasn't going to play in that game, and it played out exactly how it was. Now you get back-to-backs, and here we are. It's just like, wait a minute, man. Like, every game matters, and this is a home game against the Detroit Pistons. And if Joel Embiid plays in this game tonight, they have a much better shot at winning rather than losing. And that's just the fact of the situation. Am I going to tell you that they're going to win this game? No, but he should be playing in these games. Every game matters, and it's just laughable. It's laughable that he's not playing, but You
So
know,
I think
somebody said something to me over the last week when they texted me and they said something about the Sixers. I love the comments that just come to me via text message when I don't ask and I wasn't even watching. And it was something along the lines of like, man, I never should have cared about this team when they didn't do anything to upgrade the team. And that told me everything that I needed to know at the trade deadline. And here we are, still scratching and clawing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm they're still in a good spot here. Like, I do think the Raptors are going to lose to the Celtics tomorrow. I do think they're going to finish a top 6 seed. I still feel pretty confident about that. Like, tonight did not change my view of that. The Embiid conversation, I think, where we differ on it, and for clarity, what happened with the Wizards situation? It was originally scheduled to shoot around. They switched to a film. I don't know when Joel said he wasn't coming or if he did say he wasn't coming, but the bottom line is he missed that. And then it was the Sixers sort of drawing the line in the sand of, well, if you're too sick to go to film session or that, then you're not playing in this game. And Joel seemingly had a problem with that. Now, granted, this is all stuff that has gone on for a decade plus at this point. I think it is a strange time to draw a line in the sand if that's what the Sixers were doing with it. Again, I'm very curious of what the conversations were behind the scenes. But I think where you and I differ on it is I have far more of a problem with the communication on the standpoint of things than the decisions themselves. I think you have an issue with the decisions themselves.
Everything. Lump it all in as one. I'm just sick of it, Sean. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it that this team has a chance to play for something. And they're saying, you know what, we're good without our big time player out there to help us out. Like, this is a big game. They're all big games. You only have 4 games left.
Sure.
Every game matters. And they're like, nah, load management, we're good. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's the only word I have for you.
First back-to-back Paul George has played in a Sixers uniform, I believe. Certainly
George looked great. And he looked great. He was a reason
Incredible.
why that we should have been excited about him returning, because he's lived up to his hype that I was building up. Last 5 games heading into this game, 27 points, 6.6 rebounds, 4-point assists, 3 steals, shooting 50%, 42 from downtown, 80 from free throw line. And what did he do tonight?
He was okay. Finished 20 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, had 3 turnovers, 2 steals, shot 3 of 5 from 3. The volume only shot 14 times. It was an okay. This was probably the worst he looks as he came back. Still a fine game.
Yeah, no, you're right. Look, we'll see. Again, it's just more of the same. Like, get us to the playoffs. Hang on. What it is 4 games left. Spurs on Monday night, Rockets on Thursday, Pacers back-to-back, and then the Bucks to close out. So JoJo will play in that final game against Milwaukee. He'll sit in one of those games with the Rockets and Pacers, probably the Rockets. It shouldn't be because
he should play. They can beat this Rocket. The Rockets look vulnerable right now. They look like a team that hates each other, and I think with Joel Embiid, they can absolutely beat that team. They should stack the deck where he plays in that, sits against the Pacers, and they should win both of those games.
Correct. There you go, and that's the way to win the final 3. Yeah. The Spurs are going to be a difficult out. They haven't lost much. They've only lost twice, I want to say, in the second half, something ridiculous like that. So. And that game is in San Antonio, so we'll see what happens. But, like, it was disappointing to see that news come down, and it was disappointing to see the performance today. I'll have to ask you, like, the one thing that I would say is that we're not able to justify what type of effect it has when you just don't know if the big man's going to be out there. And it's something that we have discussed as far as chemistry and everything along those lines. To have him ruled out today in such a big spot. These guys are professionals, but do you think that had an effect on the psyche of some of these players?
I mean, we didn't see guys step up. Like Quinn Grimes is a guy that has to be an X factor guy. He wasn't. He went scoreless tonight. That can't happen. Oubre didn't really have his fastball today, although he's been playing very well. So I kind of give him a little bit of leniency there. Edgecombe, Maxey. I thought all these guys you look at, like Maxey, I thought was super careless with the ball today, which is very uncharacteristic of him. I thought it was one of the more poor Tyrese Maxey performance of the season, and you can't have that when Joel Embiid's not on the floor. So I don't know how much of it is psyche, how much of it is this team has kept their foot on the gas, like fully to the floor for a couple weeks now. And I do think playing the Pistons on the second night of a back-to-back, it's a tough matchup, a tough team, and I think they just didn't have quite enough in the tank from a team-wide perspective. So I think I put it more of like a just, fatigue than a mental issue there.
Yeah, more of the same. Here we are. More of the same. Sixers was a tough game to the Detroit Pistons at home. a game that I thought that should have been a little bit more of a better contest, to say the least. So I'm disappointed with it, but the show rolls on. 4 games left in the regular season, 3 very winnable games, and of course the game against San Antonio. Not out of the question. We'll see what happens on Monday, whether or not Joel Embiid plays. Obviously, crazier things have happened. We could see Joel Embiid playing this game in San Antonio, and they could win the game. They could if Joel Embiid plays.
Yeah, I've seen Joel give Wemby 70 points with my very eyes right there. Like, they can win this game. The Spurs look incredible. I think there's a non-zero chance the Spurs are just straight up the best team in the NBA right now, which is a scary thought considering the long-term implications of this. This team's going to be around and competitive forever.
Oh, by the way, lost already to Denver earlier today by 2 in overtime. So I think Denver's had their number the last 2 times I believe that they've played, if I'm not mistaken. But because I thought San Antonio was beating them pretty good, and the next thing I was talking smack, and they ended up losing the game outright. But that's the Denver Nuggets. It's a 3-horse race. I don't think anybody's going to sit here and tell you there's other teams that can win the West besides OKC, Denver, and of course San Antonio. I don't think anybody's on the Laker train anymore, correct?
Certainly not after Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves both ruled out for the regular season. Luka, I don't think there's any chance that he plays in the playoffs. Reeves, there seems a somewhat chance that there could be. He's dealing with an oblique issue as well. But, I mean, a strained hamstring, and it looked like he was in some serious pain when it happened. I don't think we see Luka Doncic play basketball again this year.
No. Yeah, I don't see that either. So a 3-horse race over on the West. Over on the East, you got the Pistons holding down to 1 spot. The Celtics are right there, 52-25. The Knicks, 50-28. Cavs, 48-29. Hawks, 45-33. Raptors, 43-34. And then the Sixers, 43-35. I believe that is the record at this point in time. Currently in the 7th spot. Playoffs started today. They would be in a play-in game, taking on the Charlotte Hornets. For an opportunity to take on the Boston Celtics in a series to open up the NBA playoffs. Oh, that would be a great one and done, Sean Bernard.
It's going to be different tomorrow.
Wouldn't have to be tune in. Wouldn't even have to tune in if they take on the Boston Celtics.
Well, luckily the Boston Celtics will be doing us a favor tomorrow at 3:00 as they've played the Toronto Raptors as 9.5-point favorites there. So I would like the Celtics to absolutely take care of business, and I think they will. I think they're going to pretty comfortably beat this Raptors team that is fading a little bit. I mean, they lost to the Sacramento Kings this week. That they have some concerns as a team. I still feel pretty confident that the Sixers team is going to finish the 6th seed, and I want to match up with the New York Knicks. Sign me up for that.
Yeah, that's where I would want it too. Again, not sitting here saying anything other than, oh, you give me an opportunity to play the Celtics or the Knicks. Yeah, I'll take the Knicks. I will definitely.
For sure.
All right. What else from tonight's game? Again, just disappointing, and full disclosure, as a guy that really hasn't tuned in all this much this week, just from afar. But it kind of went exactly how we played out. Catching that game last night was awesome. Like the game against the Miami Heat, we said that they were going to split in that weekend series. It's how it played out. One, they weren't going to win both of them. So it's unfortunate they go on the road. And, of course, they come back taking on the Wizards. I didn't think Joel Embiid was going to play there. He didn't due to illness, something different, whatever. Bottom line is they rolled. They scored 150+, get the victory there. Then tonight, last night with a great performance against Minnesota T-Wolves. And then tonight, of course, stumbling out to shoot versus the Pistons and never really able to get back after. It came in as 3.5-point underdogs to open up. Of course, big reason without Joel Embiid.
Yeah, and I mean, just to lay out a couple stats, like, I mean, the Pistons out-rebounded the Sixers 45-33. They picked up 16 offensive rebounds. That is a ton of extra possessions that they're giving off. They had 33 assists on 43 made baskets, which is some incredible efficiency there. Sixers shot 28% from 3. I thought there were some, like, good shots that the Sixers just missed tonight, and they didn't have enough margin for error when you're playing a team like this, given the circumstances. So they did not crush it in the margins. Pretty much every stat you look at, the Pistons had an advantage at fast break points, 22-12, points in the paint, 54-44, stretched the lead to as large as 26, led for 93% of the matchup. This was a good game by the Pistons. They played well on both ends of the floor. They looked hungrier. They looked fresher. They were fresher. And they obviously delivered there. So a frustrating loss for the Sixers, but this is one that I can kind of drop in the trash can and move on from.
4 out of their last 5. I mean, that's the reason why we could sit here and say that you should be able to just put this in a can and keep it moving. But, you know, for the Sixer fan that feels, you know, a little disgruntled at this point in time because it feels like the same old stuff continues to happen. And Like, really? Now this doesn't matter? Like, we got 5 games left and this doesn't matter? I'm with them. That's where I'm at. Mentally, it is just so draining, but show rolls on, Sean Bernard, as you said, taking on the Spurs on Monday. I'm pretty sure Sam will be joining us. We'll be off and rolling. We got 4 games left, and then we're in the playoffs, man.
Yeah. What'd you think of the whole Tobias Harris booing discourse and far too much conversation on the broadcast about it? But what were your thoughts on that?
I totally agree with that. And then almost throwing it back in our face, like, well, let me tell you, if you could get that contract, he would definitely take it. And it's like, all right, dude, relax. I am okay. I am pro booing because it lets me know that you care, you pay attention,
Sure.
you understand. Now there are moments we get carried away, and like Tobias, like it makes it interesting. So I want to give it to him. Yeah, I know the history. All right, I watched every game that Tobias was here, and I understand that he didn't have to, it wasn't his fault that he got paid ultimately all that money. Um, but he was asked to be a little bit better in clutch moments and big time moments, and he failed to do so. Like that's the thing that comes to my mind. Did he score
Yeah.
0 points in one of those closeout games? Like
His last game in a Sixers uniform, like a straight up donut in the box score right there. And Tobias is a guy that, like, whenever you use the phrase like the box score doesn't tell the story, it's used positively of like this guy impacts the game in a ton of ways. Tobias is a guy that the box score doesn't tell the story in a negative way. The dude didn't register a single charge when wearing a Sixers uniform. I'm not sure I ever saw him come up with a loose ball. Like, he doesn't do the little thing. He's kind of like an antithesis of a Pistons player, but he fits into them for whatever reason. The booing as a whole, what surprised me is it feels like the crazies of the Tobias Harris discourse have gotten like even further in both directions. I will say I have no issue with people booing Tobias. I wouldn't be a boo Tobias guy just from these standpoints of I think the largest criticisms of him all fall in the organization. Like, I think he was miscast in a role that he was never meant to be in. He was paid money that he probably was never worth, but he was never worth right there. So I have a hard time faulting Tobias for that directly, but there's certainly frustrating things about him as a player. And it's absolutely correct to assess that he was a major hurdle for why this team's flamed out in the playoffs. Like, not having the money to get other players that was invested in him not being able to be like close to a max contract player, how many forgettable performances he put up, the quietest like 20-8 games in existence right there. So I get it, like the frustration with it. I still think it's valid. I have no issue with people doing them. I also think like I would once again shift it back to all the criticisms that are directed at Tobias Harris really should be at the front office for making decisions there. It's not really his fault for a lot of those, even though, again, he is a frustrating player.
Yeah. Well, that was Daryl Morey, correct? Morey gave him the contract.
No, that was pre-Morey. That was I believe it was Elton Brand officially who pulled the trigger on the trade, and then I think it was officially Brett Brown.
Not the trade. I would say, didn't he get another contract though with Morey, or am I tripping on that?
No, Tobias was all pre-Morey. At least he could have traded him. He could have done that, when he was running the sticks. But Tobias was a problem he inherited there.
Gotcha. Yeah, look, Tobias was one of those players that got paid a ton of money and was paid to be bigger and better than what he was. And yeah, I know he's pointed out on the broadcast of what he had like average as a Sixer player, and he had some good seasons like where he's able to total up some numbers, but all in all was never that player that he was paid as and what the Sixers needed to be, especially in clutch moments and postseason play. Yeah. Failed to deliver. So even if he did average 19 points per game and play good defense or was a great teammate and was tutoring.
Didn't play great defense.
Yeah, exactly.
I would push back at that one.
Well, no, they didn't say that. They said that he was, a tutor and our mentor, excuse me, to Tyrese Max or whatever they were saying on the broadcast. So you're right.
Great guy. That's the Tobias Harris lesson to me is you can get pretty far in life just being a good human being, just being likable.
You used to be able to. Yeah, not anymore these days. It feels like the assholes are making it further more and more every day. So
Sure. But I like that's the Tobias lesson to me is him just not being a problem, him not being like an issue has gotten him pretty far in his career. He's a fine basketball player, and relative, if you're going to put like his box score numbers compared to guys in that tier, all those guys come with far more significant baggage than Tobias Harris. That's why he gets these contracts. That's why he gets these opportunities. So that's sort of my takeaway for me is the advantage that Tobias Harris has is basically just not being a problem and existing in the NBA.
Made $25 million last year to play the game of NBA basketball with the Detroit Pistons. Had a good season. Again, Don't know exactly what his payout was, what the expectations were for the Pistons. I know it was a multi-year deal, but they're winning, and that's all that matters because winning cures all. So we'll see what happens
And
come
mind you,
playoff time.
that 25 million is like half what he was making in Philadelphia. He was a $40 million guy here.
Yep. Yep.
It's a lot
39,
of money.
37, 35, 34, 32, 14 with this first year with the 76ers, whatever how
And we
that worked
traded
out.
for him. Yeah,
Gotcha.
we traded for him on an expiring, and then because that's what, and everyone does the Jimmy Butler versus Tobias Harris thing, which really isn't a thing. That's the revisionist history of people like to look at it this way because of how things played out, and you can view it in a vacuum. But the reality is, it was always a Jimmy Butler versus Ben Simmons thing, and the organization said we're riding with the guy that we drafted #1 overall and has made an All-Star team in his first 3 years in the league here. I get it at the time. We obviously know what we know now. But the Tobias conversation was we just traded everything to go all in to get Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris. Jimmy's about to walk. We can't let both these guys walk. We kind of got to pay them. And then they create a major problem for themselves that, bled on for several years.
And it didn't help when Jimmy Butler was walking off the court going, Tobias Harris over me.
Yeah.
That didn't help. No,
not at all.
Oh, it's been a long, twisted, windy road that has brought us to here at 2026 76ers, where people are starting to believe after a big-time victory against the Minnesota Timberwolves on a Friday night, followed up by a complete dud on Saturday. Ain't nobody believing tonight right now, Sean Bernard, except for you. You're the only one that's really holding steady in this going, we'll be all right. We're just going to throw this in the can. 4 out of 5. Wins.
I mean, did you think they were winning this game going into today, Brace?
No, but if Joel Embiid played, yes.
Sure. I think that's
once he was ruled out, I'm like, well, that's a loss.
Yeah, like I kind of was mentally braced for they're probably not winning this one when I flipped the game on right there. And they gave a little bit of hope. Like there was some competitive stretches in the first half where they didn't let things get out of hand and they showed some positive flashes. It really got out of control in that second half. And, the famous third quarter where they really burst things open. And in the third today, it's actually only 24-21 that they outscored them by 3. It felt like more than that when watching it right there. But I mean, I was braced for this one. I had a feeling a loss was coming. You're not going to go undefeated in this final stretch. This is the last one that I think we can kind of chalk in that category, though.
All right. Well, what are we bracing for on Monday against the Spurs?
It's going to be a battle, but I don't want to say winnable because the Spurs look incredible. And then I think coming off a loss, does kind of hurt, the Sixers outlook there is the Spurs. I do think will be hungry. It doesn't look like they're going to catch the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've basically haven't lost for a month and really haven't made up any ground because the Thunder keep winning as well. I've been optimistic that maybe this is a chance where they rest Wemby from the standpoint of, the playoffs are on the horizon. This is a situation where you don't have much to play for. But Wemby seems super committed to being out there as often as possible, playing in every game, which is a massive credit to him. So I don't think the Sixers are going to get that luxury there. It's going to be a tough battle, man. I do think there's a pretty strong chance that they lose that. But to swing it back to my optimistic view, to take a look at the Raptors schedule from here. So I mentioned they have the Celtics tomorrow, which we need to be a loss there, and that will bump the Sixers back to the 6th seed. Then they have back-to-back against the Heat. Then they play the Knicks, and then they close with the Nets. Those are all losable games with the exception of that Nets matchup right there. So they could go 1-4 to close, and then all of a sudden the Sixers' work is done for them.
All right. Well, we're back at it on Monday. We roll on. The show is not stopping. We got a long way to go. Hopefully a lot longer than what people are predicting, but we'll see what happens. One game at a time, Sean Bernard. Well, you know what? While we're here, let's have some fun real quick.
Let's do it. What do you got for me?
Let's check in on the odds here. Team futures to make the playoffs after losing that game. The Philadelphia 76ers are a minus 1,200 to make the playoffs on the yes, plus 700 on the no. So they are a lock for the top 6 seeds, according to Las Vegas. Your thoughts?
That's a pretty significant change after yesterday's win. I looked at these during the day yesterday, and they were minus 400 to make the playoffs right there. So that's a big leap. Obviously, yesterday's win is, doing the heavy lifting in that, and they gave it right back in today's. But minus 1,200 is a pretty strong tell from the Vegas odds makers right there. So I do think this team's going to be a playoff team. I do think they're going to be a top 6 seed, and I think we're playing the next first round. I feel the same way I did before tonight's game.
Sixers plus 90 to 1 plus 9,000.
Hey, everyone's a loser until you're not, Sean Brace. That I remember that we got to break up Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They can never go over to the championship hump together.
Yeah.
I remember can Giannis Antetokounmpo ever be a one to lead this team to a championship? There's no way. And then he did it. Nikola Jokic, can this dude be the best player on a championship team? Is his defensive issues too significant that you can't win with them? Then all of a sudden he did. Everyone's a loser until you're not.
Call the number. That's great. TTP. We stink. We'll see what happens. We're back on Monday. TTP, always great to see you. I promise you I'll be ready to go a little bit more locked in. I'm still in vacation mode, but quick, it's coming here. So I'll be back at it on the grind tomorrow. We'll be back on a Monday night national championship game too, where Michigan is currently up 27-14 over Arizona. And of course, how dare you bet against Danny Hurley and the UConn Huskies in March Madness? Don't do it. It's a dumb bet. I think 18-1 in his last 19 games ATS. A stupid bet by me. Illinois couldn't make their shots. That's it, man. Just couldn't make their shots. And that game was there, I thought, but what are you going to do? UConn was to play. It's not nothing difficult there. But this one, so far, so good. Michigan, for my money, has been the best team all season long. Or not all season long. The most impressive team this season. A good 40% of the season, they were the best team. So I do have a future on Michigan dating back to November 27th. Where, speaking of call the number, I placed a wager at 7:19 in the morning, and Ryan B. Coyle told me to call the number this morning. Pretty funny stuff there. All right, final thoughts, Sean, before we get out of here on a Saturday night.
Yeah, it's just when you don't have Joel Embiid, you need everybody to step up. And, there's a limited margin for error. Just looking down the box score, like you got 20 from Paul George, you got 23 from Maxey, and that one assist from Maxey is definitely glowing. Shout out to TTP for pointing that out there. Edgecombe had 19. The next highest scorer on the team is Adem Bono with 10. We got 4 points from Andre Drummond, 3 from Kelly Oubre Jr., 4 from Trendon Watford off the bench, 8 from Dominic Barlow. You just need more, man. Like each of these guys have to step up, and they didn't tonight. So I thought they missed some shots that were decent looks right there. The margin for error is slim, and they didn't capitalize in those margins right there. So a disappointing loss. Got to chalk this one up. Got to get back to the grind and focus on winning out from here.
There he is. Put him in the locker room. Sean Bernard giving the pep talk.
I could fire these boys up. I could fire them up.
Yeah, they ain't listening. They're not listening to this. Anybody right now in this organization. All right. A lot of games left. We'll see what happens. All right, Sean. Have a great Saturday night. Everybody enjoy the rest of your night. We'll talk to you on Monday night. Peace.